Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi everybody, welcome to New Life Live. Glad you're here today, and joining us, special guest, Dr. John Townsend. John, how you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How's everybody doing here?
Yeah, and John is sitting right across there from Alice Benton and Mylan Yurkovich, and greetings to everybody.
And greetings to you.
Now, John, I just want to mention this before we're going to go to a caller here in just a second, but I want you to tell folks that the Townsend Institute, I mean, in just a few days, the enrollment for this semester is over. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. We're having our fall semester kickoff conference where everybody gets together, hundreds and hundreds of students and great speakers and lots of getting to know each other. But if you don't check in before the next week or 10 days, you'll be in for the spring next year. And we don't want that. We want you to get going on your life now.
And the things that people can either get a certification in or a degree in, what are those different areas?
We have three, Steve. You can get a certification or a master's in counseling. Actually, now we have a PhD. We're starting the PhD in a month in counseling if you've already got your master's. We also give you a degree in organizational leadership if you want to run an organization or your own side hustle, entrepreneurial gig or whatever, or run your church, as well as the degree in executive coaching consulting, all fully accredited, all grad level, and all online. And if you didn't have a bachelor's because you got busy in life, we got a bachelor's for you too.
All right. And if anybody wants info on the Townsend Institute, what do those people need to do?
It's really complicated. You Google Townsend Institute, and it pops up there. We'd love to see you and train you. And I'm there a lot. I'm talking to students all the time. I've done hundreds of videos, and so I'm there a lot engaging.
Sounds really good, and proud to be part of that. So just Google the Townsend Institute. We're going to go to the phones to talk to David from Nashville, Tennessee, listens on WNQM. And David, you're on with Mylan Yurkovich, Alice Benton, and Steve Arterburn here, and Dr. John Townsend. How can we help? Are you there?
What family gathering there that lasted 3 days?
Are you? We are having a hard time, David. I can't really hear you, so we're going to have to go to another caller. Maybe we'll try you back again, and you can get a different kind of connection there. In the meantime, let's go to Lisa. She's calling from British Columbia, Canada. Hi there. How are you?
Wow, guys, I'm so excited. God is good.
All right. So God is good, and what about life is tough?
You're funny. Okay, I just talked to Jack because I called the wrong number. He gave me this number, and I do listen to you guys pretty much every day and journal what you guys. So I am engaged to somebody. We're both been in recovery. He's an elder. We're going to be married soon. We sleep in different rooms, but I need help with intimacy because I saw a lady, you were just talking about sexual addictions. It's been all my life, and I've been not with anyone for a year, and I just need help with the intimacy part because I talked to him because we both love sex, and he's 72 and I'm 60, and if we're married, can we still have intimacy even if we don't have sex? And how do we do that? How does that work? I'm so curious. I need some input on that.
Okay, so you say you're both a sex addict and you're going to get married. Why are you asking about? Oh, you were?
We were in our childhood of abuse because he was in residential school and abused a lot by people in the school being a native. And then I just had sexual addiction being abused all my life. That was my biggest addiction.
All right, we'll find out more. Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop A lot of people are you could literally say, in bondage from past trauma that has created an emotional web that they don't understand, and it prevents them from being free. A person that loses their temper regularly is not emotionally free. Someone who has anxiety just to get in the car and leave the house is not emotionally free. And walking around with the shame from a childhood or even a bad relationship as an adult, that is not emotional freedom, and we can help you get there.
The New Life Emotional Freedom online workshop is Saturday, August 14th. Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams will present information on the power of our emotions, procrastination, guilt and shame, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or register online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and we're talking here with Lisa. I was a little confused there. John, why don't you pick it up with Lisa, and let's see where we go.
Hey, Lisa, I think I'm going to formulate the question, and you kind of say, yep, that's the question, or it has nothing to do with what I want. And here's what we think your question might be. I'm going to marry this man, and you said, how can we have intimacy without having sex? So you're planning when you marry him to have emotional intimacy without sex. Is that the question?
Yeah, I'm thinking that, John, that's what's going to happen because of his abuse.
And what makes you think that he can't or won't have sex? Because marriage is
I don't know yet.
Right, but something made you ask the question.
Yet,
so something that he said or that he did made you think, oh, he can't have sex or won't have sex. So what
okay,
what
right.
signs do you have?
Okay, the sign I had, oh my gosh, I'm glad he's not listening. He takes herpes pills, like he got herpes bad, and he's on pills all the time. I don't know if that would stop, or if you can, I don't know anything because I never had anything, so okay. I don't know how that works.
Lisa, I think you need more information because I can see your concern,
yeah.
but I don't think you have enough information to say, because he's taken a certain medication, that we cannot have sexual relationships. So I would say to him, I want to marry you, and I want to help our baggage and all that, and part of marriage is that intimacy, and so I need to get clear answers from you, and let's go see a doctor together or something, but I think you need to get more data. Here's my other concern. Cohabitation before you marry is generally a bad idea. And even though you're in separate rooms, that's well. Let me just try to finish here, and then we'll process with you. And because of things like temptation and when you're stressed is what happens. So I would suggest, like one somewhere and one live in another place. I know it costs more money because I see it a lot, and it's a big issue in our country. But it tends to solve the problem of the purity problem. By that. So that's where I am on that.
Yeah.
Other folks?
Mylan, Alice, any thoughts here?
Girl, I'm worried that you can't even have a conversation with your husband-to-be.
That's right.
You can't ask him a very important question, and he can't tell you, apparently, without being asked. So I think you're hoping marriage will solve your communication problem. So I hope you slow down the engagement process. You two have to figure out how to talk to each other before you get married.
You know, if
we started to talk, but he's so very shy, and and I don't know, I'm not very good with communicating. I'm a big communicator.
Well, then get a third party. If it's scary to both of you, get a third party, a good counselor or a pastor or somebody who knows communication. Alice is right. You guys have got some tough conversations to have, and sometimes a pro third party can make the tough stuff easier. You can really get the information you don't have.
Mylan, what were you going to say there?
Basically the same thing. I don't think you have enough substance in your relationship to have a marriage yet. I think, we have this phrase in business, let the buyer beware. How much will we investigate a car before we buy it? What's the history of this? Or what's the history of this house or any purchase that we make? And yet people you know, you said your relationship is really built around sex, and that will not be a lasting relationship, especially with the age difference in your relationship. You really have to have a relationship
That's
with...
so true.
You have to have a relationship where it's basically we're beginning in an emotional, spiritual way as friends. And we're not just revolving around the theme of sex.
So Lisa, here's what the team is saying. There's green light, which means, oh, he's perfect for you, go for it. There's red light, which means run away screaming. I think we're kind of all in almost red.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say
certainly
this. That
yellow.
Yeah, certainly yellow.
any time two sex addicts are together, then most people are going to say you most likely are going too fast. And then when you add some of these things about not being able to ask some questions and things, it brings up even more of that needing to wait, needing to grow in recovery, get clarification, be dependable, and have an ease in talking and sharing. It is very common that sex addicts have a difficult time verbalizing and listening, and that's why the sex becomes the form of connection that they just fall right into. And it might not even be to heal something of the past. It just might be to connect. So I just hope and pray that you guys will go very slow. I'm going to send 2 Life Recovery Bibles and 2 of the workbooks on sexual integrity. I think those are going to be helpful.
And go to that counselor and say, hey, would you speed it up as much as we're speeding it up now, Dr. Smith? Or would you tell us to slow down? And I'll bet you dinner that somebody's going to say, we got to have some breaks on this. Get somebody who's smart, knows people, knows relationships. We can help with referrals. Get a third-party sort of a timing diagnosis, and you'll be so happy you did it.
Yeah. All right, let's go talk with, I believe it's Ann from Carrollton, Texas, listening KWRD. Hi, Ann. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
I had a question about how I can help my adult children. My son just graduated from high school, and he decided to live with his dad his senior year, even though it's very negative, but he was 18, so I couldn't really say much.
Mm-hmm.
And recently my daughter decided to move back in with her dad. But it's a real toxic situation. My son, I tried to get him to move back in with me during his senior year, but he kind of feels obligated. His dad's diabetic, and he hasn't taken care of his diabetes, so he's losing his eyesight, and he almost lost his foot last year. And so he kind of feels obligated, but his dad is so negative. You know, sometimes he's like, can I move in with you? And I'm like, yeah, do that. But then about 8 months ago, my dad's dementia was getting bad, so I moved in with my stepmom to help him, but then he passed away a few months later. And so I'm kind of at a cusp where I'm going to go get my new place.
Yeah.
And my ex is just it's a toxic situation at their dad's house because he has rented out several of the rooms to make ends meet to family, friends, or a family and then friends of theirs. And like one couple's a meth head, and they say they don't do meth at the house, they do it at their friends. And the other one, you know, they do marijuana. And I mean, I'll be honest, my kids vape, and their cousins introduced them to marijuana, so they do a little bit of that.
Okay,
but
so let's what's that question?
I rescue them and get a place. Well, I'm getting my own place, but I'm like, do I go get a big place, like a house, where they can come live with me, even though, you know, I told them if they did, you know, they couldn't, you know, smoke or whatever. And they're like, well, we just do it in our car. We respect you and wouldn't do it in the house.
Okay, so you're asking if you should get a place where they could come and be with you, or get a smaller place where they wouldn't be able to come and be with you.
So that's the question, Ann?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, I'm starting to date, so, I mean, I'm hoping, you know, in the next year or so, you know, to be remarried. But I feel like want to rescue my kids out of their, and they keep going back and forth where they want to leave their dad's house.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
They don't.
No. Just try to. Here's an idea. Because you have a complicated situation, start the next sentence with the word how. Just start it with how, and we're going to help you.
How do I best help my adult children?
There we go. How do I best be a parent to it? Which is what you started off with. And there's a lot of places we can go, and it's complicated, but that gives us somewhere to go. So let's talk about it.
So one thing you could do is to say to them, I'm going to get a house where you can come and live with me. And I think that will be a healthy choice. Here are some of the expectations that would be there for you. And I'm just wondering if you did come, if you think you could live with those expectations that I have. That would be one thing. Mylan or Alice, John, you guys have a different idea.
I think I would want to ask your kids what their future plans are. Because you said your son's 18. I presume your other daughter is older than that. And do you want to rent a house? Do you want to rent a smaller place? And you use the word rescue. And really, we want to offer, not rescue. We want to offer them options. And ultimately, and here's the hard part, Ann, excuse me, they're going to make their own decisions. Even though you think it's toxic, they're in a highly, their brain is in a reformatting stage right now between 18 and 26. And they have a lot of life to experience and figure out on their own. And they have to sometimes experience some hard knocks and see what the natural consequences are of some of their choices. But to offer them the option and to be able to say, you're always welcome to come home. You're going to have to decide when and if you want to do that, like Steve said. But what are your choices and where are you headed? And I do think that you view the situation as toxic, but they may not. You see, they may say, I'm with my dad and he's not doing well and I want to be with him. And so I would shy away from using that word toxic in front of them, because if he's your ex-husband and you've gotten a divorce, most people think their exes are toxic, and that's why they divorce them. So I wouldn't impose that upon them, because your kid's view is different than yours. And I would just offer them the option and ask them what you want to do.
All right. Alice, anything you want to add here? We're going to move on.
And I just want you to let your children reject you. They're not choosing you right now, and I think it's because of your good values and your standards. So you have to allow them to not choose you while remaining warmly available and sticking with your convictions.
All right. I'm really, really glad that you called. I hope something we've said is helpful to you. John, boundaries have no... What is that final word on that book? Boundaries have no...
Boundaries have no what?
There's a book you and Henry did.
Boundaries have no...
I think I've got it over here. Anyway, I'm going to send it to her, and I'll tell you what it is after our next break.
Boundaries have no popularity in this family, then, Ann.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm going to send her a book about boundaries, and there you go.
Hey, can I say something really quick to Ann?
Yeah.
Ann, don't buy a house because your adult kids might move back.
Yeah.
Bad decision.
Yeah.
Because then they could say in 2 weeks, no, Dad's better, and you got a big house and all these expenses. Buy a house that fits Ann in the stage of life you're in, and change your idea from house to help. So they go with Dad, and they get disillusioned, whatever, and you say, well, you can't move back in with me, guys, but maybe I can help you financially launch to your own autonomy. It's leaving and cleaving time. It's not picking a parent time. They're too old for that. So help them to launch. Stay away from creating a larger nest.
And its growth has no boundaries.
Yeah, I've got it right here. The reason you didn't recognize it is that it was the wrong title. So its growth has no boundary. I'm going to send that to her, and I think it's going to be helpful. I sure hope so.
It'll fit.
All right, let's go to Kathy from Anderson, Indiana, and of course she's listening online. Hey, Kathy, how are you today?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Hello? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear
you. Okay. So my question is, I have been teaching and practicing yoga for about 20 years, and I am more recently a Christian believer, and I am praying and reading the Bible, and thank you. Praying, reading the Bible, going to Bible studies. I'm doing a number of things, and I've recently realized that I believe that yoga is very pagan in nature, and I can no longer teach it, period. So instead of quitting all of these wonderful classes that I teach, I'd like to try to teach an exercise class that is just more neutral and no belief system behind it per se.
Right.
But I still have this like nagging feeling, and I think it was
Okay,
Steve
hold on.
say,
We'll get to the rest of that right after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The New Life Every Man's Battle online workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, August 7th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. And so you were just about to get to that question, Kathy, and I think it had to do with hearing God or whether the class is right. What is the specific question you wanted us to answer?
Well, basically, I have determined that I could likely teach a class that is non-spiritual, or at least in the Hindu form of it. But I feel this conflicting. I know Steve had said something about, and I'm paraphrasing here, the Spirit doesn't want us to be conflicted, but we're also supposed to work. And I tend to be sometimes a, homebody introvert. I don't mind not working sometimes. I can be kind of lazy in that, and a little introverted in my nature. So I don't know if it's something nagging in me that's saying, don't teach any of these classes, period, whether they're, yogic or not, or if that's Satan or if that's God. I have no idea.
So let me just clarify something, because I don't remember saying that the Spirit doesn't want us conflicted.
Steve, you had so many wise sayings over the years.
But here's
it's hard to keep track.
Conflict, but actually the Spirit causes conflict when, that's really speaking to you and causing some conflict over what you're doing. It's a good thing. The question is, what do we do about that conflict to resolve it? And, that is a very personal thing. So What can we do to come as close as possible to hearing God and not our shame or hearing Satan or hearing our insecurity? And Mylon, you want to get us started on that, or what are you thinking that might help her?
Sure. Kathy, great question. And, when we come to Christ, especially when you're an adult, you then have to stop and question your beliefs, behaviors, and practices and ask which ones of these coincide. I've been in a similar position as you because I'm a Kung Fu teacher. And so the Chinese art that was developed in the Chinese monasteries in southern China, I've had people criticize me because I'm a Christian and yet I continue to teach Kung Fu. But the bottom line is that I don't bring in, and you brought in a great phrase that we must use. You said you don't want to bring in the Hindu spiritualism into what you do. Exercise is exercise, balance, body. The body is very important, and somatic work is super important for us to be able to just develop our connection with our physical self. A lot of people are not. A lot of people cannot tell you where stress resides in their body. They cannot tell you what aspects of their physical being are affected by what is going on in their life. So I would just have to say, you might be able to continue to teach exercise classes, do many of the positions or the poses or the stretching or the balance and the proprioception that comes along with that. And not teach the Hindu mysticism or spiritualism, as we don't teach the Chinese type of spiritualism as well. So it's to then be us, and we have a lot of Christians in our school. So it's a great balance, but you have to think those things through. That's my experience.
Well, and as Mylon's saying that, I know Christians who teach yoga, and when I say teach, they're running the class, but they're not teaching any of the mystical things that are there, and they're fine with it. But like I said, it's a very personal thing. Alice, your 2 cents here on this.
Kathy, I love yoga, but I think if we participate in it either with a neutral attitude or with the purpose of honoring a God other than the God of the Bible, then we're inviting demonic influence into our lives. And so when I participate in yoga now, as I do the moves, as I bow down, basically, I'm telling God of the Hebrew Bible, of our Bible, that I'm bowing down to him. And so as you ask, is Satan talking to me or is it God talking to me about my life decisions? If you have pursued other gods, you gave a foothold to the enemy to have greater access to you. And confessing that and breaking that connection that you made with a god of Hinduism or anything else, because through sin and not following God's will, we do that. We leave footholds to the enemy. You need to clear that out so that you can have a clearer reception of our Heavenly Father's voice.
Yeah, I went to one of my wife's sessions, one of these hot yoga sessions, and I'm telling you, it was a very spiritual experience, me praying to God to help me survive and not look like an idiot in front of all these people. I've never seen anything. Why would you do that to yourself? And fortunately, I was able to crawl out of there, but I left a big puddle behind. I had to go back and clean that up. Anyway, I'm glad that you called. I hope that this helps you. And what you really need, I think, is pastor's wife or a great Bible study leader, a great counselor, just to sit down with you and say, process this and see if you can kind of separate out the different influences that are there. And I love it that you want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we want to do the right thing, we think it's always the extreme thing. Well, sometimes it is, but not all the time is it that way. All right. I want to send you a copy of 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. Get that in the mail to you. Anybody else, a gift of any amount, that's what I will send to you as our way of saying thank you for supporting this ministry. We'll take this break. We'll come right back with more of New Life Live. 1-800-NEW-LIFE is the number if you're struggling in any area.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Workshop is Saturday, August 14th. Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or register online at newlife.com.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits, like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and I hope and pray that something we say that to someone here on the air helps you and provides you a little bit of insight. We love helping people here.
Or more than a little bit, Steve.
Yes,
maybe a lot sometimes.
Yeah. Transformation is possible. And I hope that we're part of that for you. I want to go back to the calls. And how about we talk with, let's talk with Joe. Tallahassee, Florida is where Joe lives. Let's go right there to Tallahassee. Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing well, praise God. How are you folks?
Well, we're doing all right. So how could we help you today?
Let's talk about bipolar.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah. Who in your family is bipolar?
Our grandson, who's 23, lives with us, and he's on a number of medications. He's very interactive. He and I have a great relationship, as he does with his grandmother. He and I kid around a lot. He has a good sense of humor. He's outrageously good online gamer. Unfortunately, he's unable to practice that because we live in the country where you can't get good internet.
Okay, so let's get to how we could help you here pretty quickly, because we do want to help you with him.
I am.
Okay.
So he's expressed an interest in taking a job, but anytime he starts to take a step toward that, he becomes a nervous wreck. And my wife and I, because we're not always going to be available to him, are concerned about whether he's going to be able to live on his own in the future. And I just wonder, is there a way for him to make progress? And if there is, how do we find out about that? And how can we help and participate and make
Joe,
that happen?
Joe, that's a good question, very clearly stated. Why does your grandson live with you?
Because his father married Satan's daughter, and there's a great deal of impossible conflict between our grandson and
you feel
his
strongly about that.
stepmother. Well, my wife feels even more strongly because she believes that the daughter-in-law half killed our grandson, and is very fearful of the two of them being around one another. And
Okay.
our grandson is very fearful for the same reasons.
Okay, so your question is there a place that your grandson could go that would help him learn to be independent and succeed long after you're gone? Is that right?
Well, are you talking about a physical location, or are you talking about a strategy?
I think you're asking a strategic question, if I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So let us help you with that.
Joe, you and your wife could use a coach, because you probably have a tendency to care for your grandson maybe more than he needs, and to protect him maybe more than he needs because he's been through such horrible trauma, and you have reason to protect him and to be afraid for him. But it leads you into doing more for him or not pushing him as much as he needs you to. And a good coach, a good therapist would help strategize that with you.
Yeah, the balance between safety and challenge.
That's right.
Well, I agree 100%.
But if I had a son that was 23 and he wasn't working, and I was afraid, and it causes tremendous anxiety when he does, I would take some practical steps of finding a place where he could go, get dressed every day, go and volunteer for 2 hours a day, and then I'd raise that, with them to 4 hours a day. So he's got a routine. He knows what it's like to show up, have responsibility, but not, there's less stress because it's a volunteer, not a work situation. And hopefully from doing that, he would feel so good about himself, helping other people, reaching out. And then that discipline of getting up, getting dressed, getting there would help him succeed in the next phase of getting first a part-time job and then a full-time job. Anybody else got any ideas?
Yeah, Steve is talking about a desensitization process to help him get used to a routine and then to work through his fear. But you said something at the onset that was very important, just that the nervousness or the fear
He said nervous wreck.
He is, that overwhelmed him. And so where I would want to start is with a trauma therapist who could help him with the history that you just described to us, that to help him wrestle with it, deal with it, and if you will, learn to escape the powerful gravitational field of that trauma so that he can feel more like an adult. Right now he's 23 going on 10 on the inside. 23 going on 10, 12, 13 on the inside. He doesn't feel like an adult on the inside. So adulting is a really big challenge these days for even reasons that Alice was addressing a few moments ago. And we can compensate, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. But I would really help him from a therapeutic viewpoint wrestle with his trauma and have somebody that can love him, care for him, and really help him work that through. There are great therapies right now, EMDR, somatic therapies, that really help people deal with their body and the effects of trauma on the neurobiological system that allow them to feel more like an adult and autonomous from the traumatic history.
I think that's wonderful, and it's a hopeful thing that he literally could get this treated from a specialist and not have to be in that kind of turmoil. Right. Anything else anybody want to add? Well, I'm going to send you, let me send you a copy of How We Love. I think that's going to help you to understand that relationship between him, the parents, and you. I hope so. All right. How about we go to Tiffany from Richmond, Virginia, listening online. Hi, Tiffany. How are you today? How can we help?
Hi. I'm good. Thank you for taking my call. So I apologize. I was just eating some lunch.
It happens all the time.
I just sat down to eat my salad. Yes, I had a question about marriage and, my marriage and divorce and emotional intimacy. So I
What's
will
the
try
question?
to package this because I don't even know how to frame my question. But in short,
just ask it. Why don't you just ask it, and then we can ask you about details and stuff.
Okay. So, I've been married for about 5.5 years, and my husband and I have been separated for about 9 months now. Physically separated for 7 months. I moved out about 7 months ago, and prior to that, we were separated inside the house. I found out about maybe 5 months ago that he has a pornography addiction. But the entire marriage, we have had intimacy issues, even from the honeymoon. And during this separation, while I've been in my apartment, there has not been, I reached out to my church and they provided resources for us, which I shared with him.
Okay, so what could we help you with, though?
Okay, so my question is now my lease is ending and I'm wondering if I should move back into the house or if I should continue to stay physically separated from him. And the reason why I'm wondering that is because during our separation, there hasn't really been any change.
And Tiffany, he's unrepentant at this point. Is that correct?
He has told me he's sorry.
Well, that's not the same as repentant.
But he hasn't done any work on the problem.
He did start seeing a sex addiction coach, but I don't know where he is with that.
Okay, and do you have Tiffany? Do you have a child together?
We do not have any children.
Okay, I want you to hold on. We're going to go to a break. We'll give you some help right after this, and I'm really, really glad that you called us. You're listening to New Life Live, and we are glad that you are.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
All right, so we're on here with Tiffany, and she's wanting to know, since the lease is up, should she move back in with her husband? She's been separated from. He said he's sorry. He's got a sex addiction coach. But she's not seeing a lot of change here. Who wants to start with her? I want to help her.
Well, I think there's sort of a consensus on a quick way,
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
Mylon, you started with it.
Yeah, I would say no. The answer to your direct question.
Say it a little louder.
No. I'm sorry.
We love you, but no.
Well, the question was, my lease is expiring. Should I move back in with my husband? No. The answer I gave. So the reason being is what Alice was saying. He has not come to a place where he's really working on himself. And as long as there is an addiction involved, you cannot have emotional intimacy because those preclude every other aspect of being able to have a relationship. Also, I doubt that he even has experience in emotional intimacy because most people don't. Emotional intimacy is not taught in our society, in schools, churches, anywhere. We don't teach emotional intimacy. And so it's emotional intelligence is something you have to learn. It's an experience that you have to go through and decide that you want to be a person who's more like God, who has these broad emotions from Genesis to Revelation, and he can articulate where he is emotionally. And you spoke of emotional intimacy, and I think that's something you'll want to work on yourself. And if you want to have a relationship with him, that would be something I would require of him, because it's not just being sober, it's also developing relational capacity. That has to happen simultaneously.
And girl, the fact that you don't know what's happening with his therapist means he's not really working the program yet.
That's right.
Because an essential part is that an addict in recovery is letting the spouse know and giving evidence of what they're doing in their recovery.
All right, I'm going to send you Worthy of Her Trust, and I think you should give it. Well, you should read it, and it's really clear what is expected of somebody that's getting better with a sexual integrity problem. And then you let him read it and say, here's why we're not moving in, and I'm getting a new lease here.
Steve, can I make a recommendation that
Yes.
you also send her Take Your Life Back? Because she is very much dangling on his string. And he is really the one that she's kind of waiting to see what he does. She has to decide to take her life back.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get that to you. I am going to take a risk here and go to Chris, hoping that Chris is just going to ask us a brief question so we can squeeze in one last call. Chris, how could we help you today?
Well, first of all, Chris, I'm a female.
Okay. All right.
But then I did want to ask you about food addiction. I
Okay.
know that I have a food addiction, and I need help because it's affecting every area of my life, and I've been put on medication now that I never wanted to go on, but because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, I'm on several medications, and it's depressing me. It's affecting my job, my relationships, and just how I think about myself.
Okay. Well, you're not alone. As you know, it's one of the toughest things ever to deal with. And I've found that folks that have struggled by themselves, when they finally join up in a group of some type, it really can make a difference knowing I'm coming back next week and I'm going to be talking to these people about
Steve,
how
you lost
I
60
did.
pounds and kept it off 30 years. I mean, you have.
Well, until COVID, and I've
Historic.
kept off 60 pounds. Now I've kept off 45. but going back down.
I mean, he's the rock star here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're calling when he's here, Chris.
And I'll send you Lose It for Life, and it's got some really great things on small steps that you can do to get where you want. But if I were you, I would give Overeaters Anonymous a try. I would even, Weight Watchers is another thing. I just wish for you a group of people who are on your side, they're for you, and you've got a little bit of accountability every week. Anybody else have some ideas?
Chris, when did you start eating for comfort? What age were you? What?
Probably, I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional about it.
I know, because I asked you a sensitive question.
Old.
How long?
Yeah, probably about 2.5 years old.
Oh, gosh. Sweet Chris, I'm so sorry. Well, Chris...
And I think it's been to a lot of other areas, yeah.
Yes, and I sense that, and I'm going to tell you something because our show's coming to an end.
Yes.
What may have served you well as a child, in other words, you found comfort some way. What may have served you well as a child is not serving you well as an adult.
Yeah.
And that's where you really need to make the distinction. I did this because I could find comfort in no other way as a child, but now I'm an adult, I have choices. And I just want you to really see that it's more than a present struggle. It is a historical struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Chris,
I want to tie in with what Mylon said there, Chris. Jesus said in Matthew 7 that a good tree, we're talking about trees and fruits, a good tree makes good fruit, bad tree makes bad fruit. And what a metaphor for your food addiction with fruit. And there's something driving, and you've identified quickly when he asked, 2.5 years, we don't know exactly what happened, don't need to. But the fact is, the research says with food addictions, it's not just one thing's going to fix it. You've got to have the group. You've got to have the information. You've got to have the diets. You've got to have the, lock up these certain cabinets with the bad stuff food. But you've also got to deal with the root. So if you do all those things, God shows up.
And Chris, you may need to start with a therapist who will do sessions with you over the phone, because your fear and overwhelm are keeping you from what you already know to do. You're intelligent. I can tell. Ask for a therapist who will do phone therapy first.
Yeah. Well, that's why I could say, foods has a borderline personality disorder, because it's your best friend. It loves you. It just makes you feel great, and then it turns on you, and it doesn't feel so good anymore, and it really causes big, big problems. Lose It for Life. So many people are still using Lose It for Life, keeping the weight off, and I'll send it to you. Also, our emotional freedom workshop is online, and that's in August, and that could be a big, big help to you there, because it's not just Chris and I talking, but you go into a group, and some people can really get a lot of help in one weekend for things like this. John, it's been great to have you on the program. Thank you for being with us. Mylon, it's always great to have you on the program. And, of course, Dr. Alice Benton, thank you for being here. And I want to thank all of you that support us. And if you've never supported the program, please consider a one-time gift or joining Club New Life. The one-time gift, I'll send you 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. It's really a great devotional book, quotes, scripture, devotional material, and it's a beautiful purple, wonderful book. I think you'll love it. I love it. And, of course, these are my mom's favorite devotional books, and my mom is never wrong. So call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, gift of any amount. I'll send that to you. And don't forget to give a Google to the Townsend Institute if you're interested in what John is doing. There's some great quality education there that you're not going to find anywhere else. In the meantime, we've got an amazing experience coming up. If you want to join us, you still could do that. I think that probably August, every guy, he's got till August I think it's the 8th, that we're doing our Every Man's Battle workshop. You could come be part of that. August the 7th is when it is. It's online. And that's the beginning of a whole new life for a whole lot of men. August the 7th, online, Every Man's Battle. In the meantime, have a great day. We love you. We care about you. See you next time.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.